This is Adelai Brown, your heart coach, and I wanted to come by today for a little heart talk. And I just want to drop in and tell you what the success is. Excuse me, what the secret is to your continued success. And you know what it is? Be encouraged. Yes, be encouraged. What does that mean? What does it mean to be encouraged? Well, one of the things I feel like God has called me to do, just as the being that I am, is to encourage other people. As far back as I can remember being a little girl, I remember being around adults and encouraging them and uplifting them. I remember that just being around someone, and maybe it was my grandmother, and she got off the phone and she seemed like she was sad. I remember telling her, like, it's gonna be okay. I remember my grandfather being tired after dialysis. Now I can look back now and say this is what was going on, but I just remember being a little girl and just rubbing on his arm or patting him on his shoulder and saying, "Granddaddy, you gonna be all right, you gonna be okay." And I just remember being a little girl and just always being able to feel people and wanting them to know that they were important and they were special. I remember being around other children who were my age, and maybe their mom was like really mean to them, might yell at them or cuss at them, or say hurtful things. And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want them to think like that. I don't want them to feel like that. Like, I remember being like, just having this desire for other people to know how important they are. And I also remember getting to a place where I felt like something was wrong with that. I remember being around adults in my family. Now, granted, I know that they love me. However, they were broken adults, and hurting people hurt people. So I remember being in a relationship with people that I loved and adored, and I looked up to them, and they would say mean and hurtful things, and I just remember feeling like, well, maybe I should be quiet. You know, they would, you talk too much, you need to be quiet, you always talking, you always have something to say, why don't you just be quiet sometime? That I remember people saying things like that. I remember people just being mean. Like, I've always been a person that could pick up on the vibe. Like, I could always feel what was going on around me. So it was like, I could tell if I was getting on someone's nerve. I could tell if my presence was bothering them. And even as I tell you that, maybe it wasn't so much that I was getting on their nerves, but I could always tell or pick up on someone going through something. And when I was little, I would internalize it. I thought, well, maybe they're upset because I did something. Maybe they're angry because I did something. Never really thinking like, you know what? Like, God, like, you know, maybe they're going through what they're going through because it has nothing to do with me. See, when we're little kids, when we're young, especially little children, like, so much of what we do as adults right now, I'm 40. It doesn't matter how old you are. You could be in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 100s. Much of what you're doing is based on your belief system, your influences from like 0 to 7 years old. So if you went through various traumas that you have not dealt with, then even right now as an adult, those things are impacting how you view the world, how you see the world, how you experience the world, and how you experience yourself. And I wanted you to be encouraged today, because I was sitting here reflecting on being a little kid and adults responding to me in a negative way, adults not validating me, not accepting me, and how I internalized that as something must be wrong with me. I coupled that with the fact that my father wasn't in my life. I coupled that with the fact that my mother was not always emotionally available to give me the love and support that I was looking for or desiring at that time. And I mean, you talking about being 4, 5, 6 years old. I can't verbalize what I wanted, but I knew what it felt like when I got it, right? And see, the thing about it is, a lot of us are adults, but we are still being controlled by what it felt like when your mom, like, you might have had a mother that was there all the time, but she worked a lot. So even though she was there every day and spent those monumental moments with you, as a kid, you may have felt sad or rejected or abandoned because your mom had to work long hours. And because of that, now you feel like when you need more time or you need more attention from other people, you feel like a burden for needing it. You feel like a burden for asking for it because of the trauma that you experienced as a child. And when I talk about trauma, it's just, trauma is pretty much anything that had an adverse effect, any experience that you had in your life that had an adverse effect on your mental and emotional thoughts and well-being, right? So a lot of people think trauma and they think, well, I wasn't abused and I grew up in a great household. Yes, but if you were afraid of the dark and your parents never, they were teaching you how to sleep by yourself, and for whatever reason your mom closed the door one night and it was dark and you felt abandoned and terrified, you don't realize how much that could be lodged in your body, like stuck in your body. And when it gets dark, or when things remind you of that feeling, i.e. when things trigger you, it causes you to feel rejected, feel abandoned, and do the things, behave in those what I like to call defense mechanisms to deal with that feeling, the things that you've coped with and told yourself, this is how I'm going to handle this. So that's why a lot of us have a bad attitude. That's why a lot of us are people pleasers. That's why a lot of us are lie, cheat, steal. That's why a lot of people, a lot of us are promiscuous, right? That's why a lot of us are mistrusting of others, but also lack the ability to be trustworthy within ourselves. Why? All of these things are defense mechanisms from the things that we experienced when we were little. So you in your relationship right now, and you like, look, I got to get out of this. Like, you might be married and you feel like right now you need a divorce. Right now, this relationship isn't working. It hasn't been working for a while, and you just can't take it anymore. I'm not saying that you're not valid. I'm not saying that how you feeling isn't correct. But what I will say is, do you need a divorce, or is life squeezing fear, doubt, worry, anxiety out of you that you're not really ready to let go of yet? Have you been more committed to the person you thought you were than you are committed to the person you're becoming? Because a lot of times, the person that challenges us the most in our lives is the person that God is using to expose us to who we really are. And so another thing to think about, if you're someone, because I feel like it's a lot of people in a situation right now where they are really trying to figure out, do I get divorced, or do I separate from this relationship with this person, this significant other in my life? And let me tell you, it's not just romantic, because I feel like there are a lot of people that are challenged with, do I stay in this relationship in regards to your parents, in regard to your siblings, in regards to your workplace right now, where you're working, or where your career is, where you're choosing to fulfill your purpose in this season through your works, right? And so the thing I want you to be encouraged with is this season is, who is this relationship calling you to be in this season? What is this relationship asking of you? I'm not saying you're supposed to get divorced or break up or not. But what I'm saying is, what is this relationship asking of you in this season? And are you willing to give it? I feel like too many times we are so quick to blame the other person and the other thing. Like, yeah, I don't want to do that because they don't want to listen to me, and they don't want to change, and they don't want to grow, and they don't want to do this, and they don't want to do that. But what do you want to do? Like, I wanted to get on today and tell you to be encouraged to pursue what you want to do. The Bible tells us, I think it's Psalm 34, that if you delight yourself in the Lord, he will give you the desires of your heart. What are the desires of your heart? See, the problem is you've been too afraid to be honest about what the desires of your heart are. And you know why you've been afraid to acknowledge that? Because it makes you vulnerable to tell what you really need. Because what happens if you tell people what you really want and you really need and they still don't give it to you? I'm going to tell you what happens. Then you get more exposed to your authentic self. And that's when your life can truly begin to transform. But as long as you around here acting like you okay when you not okay, you going along to get along, y'all taking these pictures, relationship goals, and y'all putting up, you're trying to put up this image of who you want people to believe you are, but you're not putting that same effort and energy into becoming the person that you want to be, and living the life that you want to live. Because I can tell you, the life that you want to live wants you to live it. The person you want to be really needs you to be that person. But you cannot be the person you want to be if you're so committed to who you think you are right now. If your life isn't making you uncomfortable every day, then you're probably not doing what you're supposed to be doing. I can guarantee you that. Like, you know you in relationships you shouldn't be in. You know you hanging around and dancing around with thoughts and desires that you shouldn't even be entertaining. But because you don't want to be vulnerable and tell the truth about what you want, you keep falling back into what you feel like you have to deal with. You keep falling back into what's been accustomed to you, and that's all you know. You keep falling back on that, and you're going to find yourself left out. You're going to find yourself stuck. Let me tell you something. This season right now, your life is going to be shaken. And whatever is supposed to stay is going to stay. But whatever is supposed to leave is going to leave. And you're going to have to be willing to be authentic enough to accept it for what it is. You got to forgive yourself for you thought it was a mistake. You thought it was a mistake. You thought that you messed up. But what happened was, it wasn't a mistake. You had to learn from that lesson. See, you have idolized perfection because you think perfection is going to protect you from the pain. Perfection is never going to protect you from the pain. Perfection is an illusion. When you live an authentic life, it's messy. It gets all over the place. I think about an authentic life like a really good burger. If you got a really good burger, then it's going to be, when you start biting into that burger, it's not going to be something you want to eat when you got on all white. You feel me? Like, when you're eating a really good burger, you might need to put your napkin on your neck, put something on your waist. Make sure you got some napkins to wipe your hands, because when you biting into a really good burger, it's going to start dripping all over the place. All the sauces, the juices, the tomatoes, the mayonnaise, all that good stuff, right? It tastes really good, but it's not always the most aesthetic, right? It doesn't look the best, but it tastes delicious. It's very filling, right? That's what authentic life is like. Oh, it might not look perfect and what's the word? I'm sanitized on the outside, but boy, oh boy, does it feel good. Boy, oh boy, does it taste good. Taste and see that the Lord is good. See, the problem is you too picky. You have gotten accustomed to a few things, and you have trained your palate in life, just like you train your taste buds. Oh, I don't eat that. I don't eat this. I don't eat that. I don't eat this. And in order for you to transform your life, you're going to have to get used to eating new ingredients. You're going to have to start putting some new things in your life. You're going to have to start putting honesty and truthfulness and forgiveness in your way of life. You're going to have to stop being so committed to being right. Be less committed to being right than you are committed to having peace with those that you are living with. See, you have focused your appetite on fast food. When you get online, when you get on your social media, first of all, that's all you do to really build yourself up. You're not reading the books like you need to be. You're not praying and meditating like you need to be. You're not taking the time to fellowship and mastermind with other people that are going where you're going or already are where you're trying to get. No, you allowing pride to get in the way. You just gonna figure it out. You just gonna figure it out. Well, you keep living like that and you gonna keep feeling depleted. You gonna keep secretly wanting to give up. Can I tell you something? You gotta stop that. You really gotta stop being out here like you the Lone Ranger. You gotta open your heart up to allow people to support you, to allow people to help you. You can't keep doing the same things that you've been seeing doing. Like, let me tell you, like I was saying, you think you need a divorce. Some of you, the Lord is really challenging how you're in relationship with your parents, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, your family members, your closest friends. Because yes, the Lord wants you to be in good counsel and have great company. But you have idolized the opinions, the thoughts, and the ideas of others way more than you have acknowledged and listened to the voice of God that's speaking on the inside of you. And it's time for you to let that go. It is time for you to get serious about what God is calling you to in this season of your life. You have tried it the other way. You got to stop denying how you feel. You got to stop acting like you don't know the truth. I feel like it's almost as serious as, it's something as simple as the Lord told you to get a new beautician, a new barber. The Lord told you to start shopping at a new grocery store. Start getting gas from a new gas station. But you are so committed to your routine. You are so committed to doing it the way you want to do it that you won't even try out a new store. That you won't even try out a new place to purchase your goods. When I tell you the Lord is after your routine, because the outside routine you have is indicative to the internal routine that you have with Him. I can tell you, like, for a long time, I really was like, I don't want to do this. Like, I'm a always heart coach. Like, I'm a always be me. I'm a always be an encourager. But I'm burnt out from this online stuff. Like, I'm burnt out from Facebook. I'm burnt out from Instagram. I'm burnt out from YouTube. But you know what it was? I was comparing myself too much. Like, I was burnt out because I was exhausted trying to be like what I thought I was supposed to be. Trying to deliver content in a way that the professionals tell us to do it. Those that are successful. And so the Lord started really dealing with me and how I define consider success. Because He said, I don't define success the way you define success. I'm not focused on what you're focused on. I created you to be the way that you are, because the people that I have aligned with your voice, the people that I have tuned to your frequency, need you to do it the way I'm showing you to do it. They don't need you to look like those that you have seen. They don't need you to act like those that you have seen. They need you to be your authentic self. I think sometimes we get so caught up on being unique. It's not every time I ride past Wendy's, the line is wrapped around the building, and they're not really authentic. They're not unique. They're selling burgers and fries, but they're being authentic to themselves. They're being authentic to their taste. They're being authentic to their brand. They're being authentic to their identity. And that's all I'm asking you to do. And that's why I want you to be encouraged. I want you to be encouraged because I know it's exhausting trying to get it right. I know it's exhausting when you feel like you did it right and you feel like you got it right and people still want more. When you feel like you did your best and somebody, well, let me make this suggestion. Well, maybe you can do this and maybe you can do that. And then it can be better. Sometimes you're going to have to get to a awareness within yourself when you're going to say, this is enough. I'm going to do this by faith. That's why I'm telling you, if God is telling you to write that book, if God is telling you to start speaking or coaching or teaching, if he's telling you to go back to school to pursue some dream or desire that you feel burning on the inside, like this thing is waking you up at night. It's leading you in the daytime. You noticing that your appetite is changing. You don't even want to be around the same people. You don't even want to do the same things. If you can relate to anything that I'm saying, be encouraged. Know that the people need what you have to give. Know that God loves you abundantly. And I know for a lot of us, this is kind of hard to believe because we have been taught and like nurtured in such a scarcity environment. Like you really think it's not enough for you to do what you need to do. I feel like God called you to do something that's a lot like people around you. And it's almost like you're trying to find something else that is unique, something else that is different. Because there's no way God telling you to do this, and he told your friend to do it, and he told your cousin to do it. Yes. Because just like Five Guys opened way after McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's. But guess what? Five Guys are still selling burgers and fries. And guess who else sells burgers and fries? Sonic's. Right? What am I saying? I am saying that you got to get to the place where you're willing to just abandon people's thoughts and opinions of you. That's what I want you to be encouraged about. I want you to start off today as the first day of a new week. I want you to start off this week knowing that what's leading you from the inside is more than enough. I want you to start off this day knowing that you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. I want you to start off this day and this week knowing that it wasn't a loss. It was a lesson. It was a lesson that you really needed to learn. You're not a failure. Just because it didn't work out to your expectation doesn't mean it wasn't a success. When you are encouraged, when you commit to a life of encouraging yourself, that's how you experience success that no one can take away from you. When you realize that being in action, faith without works is dead. When you realize that the actions that you take are in direct response to what you believe, then your actions are going to change. And I'm telling you, I need you to be who God called you to be. The world needs you to be who God called you to be. You don't have to sit on the sidelines no more. It's time for you to get in the game of life. You know, it's football season for those who watch football. No matter what level you watch football on, it's football season. Whatever it is that God is calling you to do, I'm going to tell you, you got to do it. Whatever it is that God is leading you into, you don't have to understand why and how. Just trust the process and walk into it. Outside and just all this other stuff was going on. But just like I'm pushing through, I encourage you to push through. I want you to be encouraged. I want you to know that you are more than enough. I want you to know that you have what it takes to be all that and more than whatever you could dream, hope, or imagine. I want you to know that God loves you more than anything or anyone else on the world. And I want you to know that when you heal your heart, you will transform your life. So keep on working on it. Keep on figuring out who you are. Never stop being curious about who you are, because God created you to transform the world, and that's why we're connected together. So I'm gonna go. Be encouraged. I love you. This is Adelai Brown, your heart coach, and remember, when you master your heart, you master your life. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.